Ominous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. I had a bad dream and I woke up in the middle of the night, says the boy. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. That's why I had a strange feeling that someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There in the little ray of light illuminating from between my curtains were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes. They were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black, and this plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth. A long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but it said in the way only a madman could speak. He said, "Go to sleep." I let out a scream that's what it said at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming it at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, punched, I rolled around, trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife and went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove to the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I will never forget that face. It was cold, evil, with that psychotic smile. It will never leave my head. Police are still on the look for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in the story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved into the neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Louie couldn't complain though. A new, better house. What was it not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son." She turned around and calls her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter, and my two sons Jeff and Louie." They each introduced themselves, and Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object. Their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family are done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid." Jeff said his mother, "We just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now we're going to party, and that's final." Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself now, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something was final, he walked up to his room, plopped down in his bed. He sat there, looking at the ceiling, when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked down the stairs to get breakfast. He got ready for school. As he sat there eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it. As he and Louie finished breakfast, they walked down onto the bus. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then all of a sudden some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They all jumped back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it. it with his hands. The kid seems to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears a ripped shirt and ripped blue jeans. Well, well, well. Looks like we got some new meat. Suddenly, two other kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other one was huge. Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith. Jeff and Larry looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face in that way you would expect a sidekick to have. And he's Troy. They looked over at the fat kid. Talk about a tug of Lord. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. And I said, the first kid, and Randy. Now, for all of the kids in the neighborhood, there is a small price for bus fare. If you catch my drift, Louie stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes when one of his friends pulled a knife on him. I had hoped you would be more cooperative, but it seems we must do this the hard way. The kid walked up to Louie and took his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got the feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Louie gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. Listen here, you little punk. Give me my brother's wallet or else. Randy put the oil in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. Oh, and what will you do? Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. Randy screamed, and Jeff grabbed the knife in his hands. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed out at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach, and Troy went down. As he fell, he puked all over. Louie could not do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. Jeff, how'd you? That was all he said. They saw the bus coming and he knew they'd blame for the whole thing. So they started running as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Louie made it to school, they didn't dare to tell what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Louie just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got into the feeling, he felt how powerful it was. The urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt strange feeling, so he stayed away for an entire day of school. Even as he walked home, due to the whole thing near the bus stop, and how now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was. He said in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was wonderful." Next morning, he heard a knock on his front door. He walked down to find the police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't regular fighting, and that they were stabs on." Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Louie. "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids to stab, and one having a bruise on his stomach, and we have a witness proving that you fled the scene." "Now, what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Louie had been attacked, but there was no proof it wasn't them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they were fleeing because the truth being told they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself or Louie. Son called out your brother. Jeff couldn't do it since it was him who beat up all the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up the kids. Lee tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me. The cop looked at his partner, and they both nodded. Well, kid, looks like a year in juvie. Me, says Louis. They all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and looked them on Louis. It was me. I beat up those little punks. The marks to prove it. He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he was in a struggle. Son, just put the knife down, said the officer. Louis held up the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. No, Louis, it was me. I did it. Jeff had tears running down his face. Poor Burrow, trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away. The police led Louis out of the patrol car. Louis, tell me that it was me. Tell them. I was the one who beat up those kids. Jeff's mother put her hand on his shoulders. Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Louis. You can't stop. Jeff watched helplessly as the car speeds off with Louis inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway, seeing Jeff's face and knowing something was wrong. Son, what is it? Jeff could answer his vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother woke his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He could see how they thought of Louis when it was his fault. He just went to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days went by with no word from Louis at JDC. No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday when Jeff was woke up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face. Jeff, it's the day, she said as she opened up the curtains and let light flood into his room. What was today? Asked Jeff hysterically. Why, it's Billy's party. He was now fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after. There was a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past days. Now get dressed. Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and a pair of jeans. He walked downstairs. He saw his mother's father all dressed up, his mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought why they would ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party. Son, is that all you're going to wear? Said Jeff's mom. Better than wearing too much, he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression, said his father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yelled downstairs. Just pick out something, called his mother. He looked around in the closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions, and under the shirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looked around and found all these striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with the dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on. "You're wearing that?" they both said. His mother looked at her. "Watch." "Oh, no time to change. Let's go," she said as she heard Jeff as his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door and appeared Barbara, just like his parents, way overdressed. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults, no kids. "The kids are out in the yard," Jeff thought. "But you go and meet some of them," said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and a hat. "Hey, you want to play?" "Play?" he said. "Oh, no, kid. I'm way too old for this stuff.